Checkmate.
Oh, no! Beat me again, have you? You're getting too good at this.
I think you're letting me win, Grandpa. That was just too easy.
Now, nobody likes a sore winner. Best get ready for bed, my dear. We don't want you missing your big day tomorrow. What's the matter?
Tomorrow is my first day back at school, Grandpa. And I'm worried no one will like me.
Oh, my dear Clara, you have no need to worry. Come here. Have I ever told you the story about Annie and the Crumbles? There once was a king from a land far away who was sick with worry about his village's festival. He worried and worried. The preparations would not be ready in time. To the point he became physically ill. Just when he was about to lose all hope, a young adventurer strolled by and saw him in this horrible state.
You have no need to worry, O King of the Crumbles. I will help you.
With the little energy he had left, the king thanked the girl and pointed her in the direction of his village.
Oh, that must be the Crumbles village over there. One ticket to the festival, please. I'll put this in my backpack for safekeeping.
Blocking the path to the Crumbles village was a tiny Crumble holding a stop sign. There was no moving him without a ticket.
I have my ticket right here. Here you go.
The Crumbles were a small folk, not bothered by the busyness of everyday life. They always found an occasion to celebrate. Birthdays, holidays, first day of spring, Tuesdays. Once she arrived, it did indeed look like some form of celebration was on its way. But something felt not quite right. So, like any good adventurer with a problem to solve, she got straight to work. Sitting on a stump was a sad-looking Crumble, covering her face with her tiny hands. She had just lost her voice, and without it, she had no hope of performing at tomorrow's festival.
Don't worry, I'll find your lost voice for you. That must be the singer's lost voice. Come here, you. Darn. orders for the decorator today. Oh, but there's a stamp in here.
The decorations have been the pride of the Crumbles Festival ever since it first started. With all the decorations now up, that just left the festival's main surprise, a giant piñata.
Oh, I love piñatas.
So do the Crumbles, but a piñata without any sweets to put inside isn't fun for anyone.
This box is covered in dust. Chocolate, brown balloons. These should come with a do not eat label. Something seems to be moving in that bag. It's... And... These balloons must look gigantic to the Crumbles once. Wow, the balloon now looks like a giant sweetie. I hope the Crumbles didn't need any more of that foil. Oh dear, the singer's lost voice has got... I'll help you out, as long as you promise not to run away anymore, okay? On 1, 2, 3. That's better. Now why do you keep running away?
The lost voice believed the Crumbles would only laugh at her singing, so she decided to run off.
Was she a bad singer, Grandpa?
Oh no, she was one of the best, and everyone in the village thought so too.
I've heard nothing but great things about you. The conductor says you are the star of his ensemble, and no festival would be complete without you. Let's get you back to your owner. That's heavy. Luckily for me.
Upon entering the house, the adventurer was hit, though her attention was quickly drawn to the cook, fighting with a vegetable bulb. The king's favorite part of every celebration was the cook's famous crumbles soup. But without this particular plant, the soup would not be as delicious as she wanted.
Hello, Mr. Bulb. Why don't you want to be planted?
The bulb didn't like the new home the crumble was trying to give him. So he refused until a better one was found. He handed the adventurer a shopping list of everything he wanted. Here is the list with everything the bulb wanted for his new home. First on the list, a large pot with fresh soil.
Don't worry, Mr. Bulb. I'll find a better home for you. I'll just borrow these. I don't want any of the crumbles getting hurt. This will make a perfect home for Mr. Bulb. I should check his list to see what he wants next.
The king's favorite part of every celebration was the cook's famous crumble soup. But without this particular plant, the soup would not be as delicious as she wanted.
Take that and that. I better take these branches with me. You never know when they'll come in handy. I got you some fresh wood. Here you go. This must be the famous crumble soup, but it's not ready for tasting just yet.
I think we have found our missing jar of sweeties.
Hey, I see you hiding in those bushes. There seems to be a stamp stuck on your back. Let me help you, Mrs. Hedgehog. Wow! This is one giant chocolate sweetie. I'll just leave it on this picnic table and be on my way.
The young Crumble had never seen a chocolate sweetie so big. He dropped the jar he had stolen and stared in amazement at his new find.
Gotcha. I better get out of here before he realizes. Hey, I found your lost voice. Now, let's get you back to your friends.
At first, the Crumble was afraid of sounding different. But she soon got over that. From that day forward, the Crumble learned not to worry about the things out of her control. Whether that was her voice running away, or what other Crumbles thought of her. To the decorator's amazement, you had found his jar of sweeties. Now he could start to fill the piñata, and just in time for the village festival.
I cannot wait to get my hands on those sweeties. Let there be light. For me? Why, thank you. I'll go fill this watering can for you. That should be enough water. Here you go, Mr. Bulb. A nice cold drink just for you.
With the bulb now happy with his new home, he began to flourish right in front of the young adventurer's eyes. It just took the right conditions and looking at the problem from a different point of view to get there. However, to the Crumble's surprise, the leaves of the plant turned the soup a different color, making her worry all over again.
That's much better.
The young adventurer has now ticked off every item requested by Mr. Bulb.
Yummy. The king is going to love this.
The Crumble gave out a sigh of relief. She could now sit back and relax with her new plant friend. With all the preparations now in place, the adventurer went back to tell the king the good news. When she arrived, the king was shivering behind his heavy bedclothes, all the color in his face gone.
You have no need to worry. Everything is ready for tomorrow's festival.
But even with these words, the king continued to stare at the ceiling, his mind elsewhere.
It's your own judgment that makes you feel this way. Don't be a barrier to yourself.
Very good, Clara. The king took a deep breath in and thought over what the young adventurer had said. It was, indeed, his own judgment that made him feel this way. And it was in his power to change it. He sprang up out of bed, cheeks as rosy as ever. He thanked the girl for all she had done, for him and his people. For too long had they let themselves worry. The next day was filled with celebration, the best the king and his people had experienced. All thanks to our young adventurer.
Wow, Grandpa, that was really nice of her.
It sure was. You see, my dear, you have no need to worry. Don't let the things in life you cannot control worry you.
I promise. I'll do it for the crumbles.
That's my girl.
Grandpa,
In here, my little blossom.
uh-oh, mushrooms. I hope they aren't going on my pizza later. Yuck.
Don't worry, your pizza is safe. I'm simply taking a look at them for a book I'm writing.
Did you always know what you wanted to be when you grew up, Grandpa?
My mother always said I wanted to be a professional tiger wrestler. What do you want to be, my dear?
Well, I thought about being an astronaut, but I don't know. It seems everyone knows exactly what they want to be. What happens if I can't figure it out?
Oh, you will. You know, I believe I have a story that could help.
I was hoping you would say that.
We'll call this one The Discovery of the Fungaloids. There once was an astronaut called Millie, who spent her days exploring the vast depths of space. On one said adventure, she came across a planet full of little fungi people. The Fungaloids, as she later called them. On this particular day, the Fungaloids were gathered for an important show and tell. It was their tradition at a young age to show off something that they were proud of. But the ceremony soon came to a halt due to some of the young fungi being late. The elders of the group looked at their new visitor for guidance.
I'll go see what's keeping them. I'll be right back.
The astronaut then took off in her spaceship to find them. She landed in the village of the missing fungi and went about her business.
I can't leave yet. I have to help the Fungaloids.
Beside a pond was a small fungaloid staring at the reflections of stars.
Wow, look at all these shiny stars. Aren't they beautiful?
But the fungaloid was too transfixed to acknowledge the young astronaut. There were so many to choose from, but they were all out of his reach.
I'll see if I can help you catch your star. Looks like no water for the water wheel today. What a silly hat. Who wears these?
The astronaut entered the home of an elderly fungaloid. He sat hunched in front of a fire, with only his thoughts to keep him company.
Oh my, what's the matter?
The elder was feeling lonely and missed his beloved. He had not heard a word from her in some time, so he had written a letter. But he was unable to deliver it without some help.
I can take this to the mailroom for you. Grandma was always sewing things, wasn't she, Grandpa?
Oh, yes. She sewed plenty of buttons on my shirt when my belly grew a little.
You mean Grandma's cooking was just that good?
It sure was, my dear. The elder was now full of joy, knowing that his letter was to be delivered.
There's a fishing rod inside this cabinet, but it needs a key to open it. What kind of futuristic technology is this?
That, my dear, is a record player. Back in my day, that's how we played music.
Ah, so it's prehistoric technology. Oh, what's this? A mail token? Okay, I'll go collect this package. You do seem busy. I can't quite reach it. If only the fruit was a little higher. Those are some juicy fruits in that.
The astronaut had walked into the fungaloid's mailroom. This was the place to go for all your delivery needs.
Oh, so I better pick these up. I don't want the mailman's wife tripping on them.
Sitting in a cardboard box was the mailman's daughter. She was too nervous to leave the comfort of her own little box. Like many others, she was part of the ceremony, but the thought of the unknown scared her.
Hello, Mr. Toad. What are you doing here? Ah, licking stamps. I should have known.
Behind the reception desk stood a large fungaloid.
He must be the mailman.
It was, but he seemed too distracted to sort the letters today.
Is everything all right, Mr. Mailman?
He sighed. He was worried about his dear daughter. She had not stepped 1 foot outside since the announcement of the ceremony.
I'll go talk to your daughter and see if I can help. She only seems interested. If only she could take it. She only seems. If only.
On her travels, the astronaut wandered into a swamp. Compared to the hustle and bustle of the village, the swamp was quiet and still.
Hi there, Mr. Worm. Would you like to join me on my adventure?
If it was safe for him to travel, the worm was more than happy to tag along. So that means no wiggly worms in any pockets this time.
I don't know how they got in your pockets, Grandpa. I'll have to find something. These scissors could be.
On a large log sat a young fungaloid holding a shiny red ribbon. Beside him were crafting materials and a tired-looking teddy bear.
What's going on here? Are you making something?
He was creating a companion for the ceremony, but became disheartened. The ribbon was passed down for him to use, but he preferred to take his teddy bear. However, in its current state, he thought it would only disappoint his family.
Oh no! Your teddy is full of holes and has lost its stuffing. Let's see what we can do about that.
The astronaut had entered a toasty bathhouse. The air was thick with steam. Aye, it was the perfect place for the fungaloids to relax, unwind, and enjoy a lovely hot bath.
This cork's in the backpack. I don't think she'll mind me borrowing this. That's a long way down. I better watch my step. Oh no, you're getting soaked. Let me see if I can poke the holes in that pipe. I'll try fix these pipes. Tropical fruits said... You're still grumpy? Ooh, you haven't got your bubbles yet. Who doesn't love a nice, warm, bubbly bath? Who doesn't love a nice, warm, bubbly bath? Can you deliver this letter for my friend? Oh, there's a package for him too? He'll be so pleased to receive this. I delivered your letter, and there was a package waiting for you.
The elder was in shock. It was from his wife. He opened the letter and read it over. It brought a smile to his face to hear that his love was doing well. She also left him a small surprise to remind him of the time they first met. It was... He had not heard it in years. He felt the energy rise within him as his foot began to tap. To thank the young astronaut, he gifted her his prized fishing rod. He had not felt this alive in years. In the excitement, he hurried to write a response to his wife.
Look, found you a fishing rod. This should help you catch your perfect star.
He cast the line out into the pond, but nothing seemed to bite. Without the right bait, he'll have no luck catching his star. Without the right...
You'll be safe in this for the time being, my wiggly friend. My little worm friend here wants to help.
To the young fungaloid's surprise, it was not a shiny star in his hands, but a starfish with a warm smile. He was so pleased with his catch that he could not wait to show it off at the ceremony. He just needed to cast his line and wait for a bite.
I hope this works. Aha! They don't teach you that at space camp. She only seems interested in her box. If only she could take it with her. She only seems interested. If only she could take... She only seems interested. If only she could take... Oh no! Let me see if I... I knew this would come in handy. Who's a good fluffy boy? May I snip off a bit of your fluffy coat? Now I just need something to sew him back together. Let's stitch him back up.
With the teddy bear, the fungaloid gave it a good look, as he still felt it was missing something. He took the ribbon and tied a small bow around the bear's neck. It was now perfect. He had worried that by making his own choice, he would distance himself from his family. But what he did not realize was he would never disappoint them, no matter the companion he chose.
I'll go get your... One package, please. Here you go. One tour-shaped package. No idea what it could be. Oh.
The astronaut, but she...
Those are some juicy fruits and... I'll go talk to your daughter. She only said... If only she could... How about this? There. You can now take your box with you on all your adventures.
Her parents were thrilled to see their daughter so happy.
I wonder what she's getting up to. I'll go talk to your daughter. The butterfly seems to... Here, try this. The butterfly seems to prefer you.
By losing herself in the moment, she was able to find her companion. She now realized there was so much out there to experience, and so many new friends to make. With the young fungi found, she brought them back to the ceremony. The elders were delighted to see the missing fungi. One by one, they showed off their companions and explained their importance. Once all the presentations were complete, the elders then turned to the young astronaut.
Oh, me? I have nothing to show. But There's one thing I can share. I try to enjoy the journey of my space adventures and worry less about where they take me. This is what I'm proud of.
The elders were happy to hear she had learned the greatest lesson of all, and to them that was what mattered most. The astronaut said her farewells to the fungaloids and took off for her next adventure.
Does she ever hear back from them, Grandpa?
On occasion, she receives postcards. So, the moral of this story, my little blossom, is to be open to new experiences and try to enjoy your journey.
Okay, Grandpa. Oh, I know what I'll be when I grow up.
Yes?
A professional tiger wrestler. Rawr.
How did I know you would say that? Only a couple more dishes, Clara, and that will be us.
Okay.
You don't sound like yourself today, my little blossom. I hope I haven't been working you too hard. I do appreciate you helping this old man.
It's not that, Grandpa. I like helping. It's just...
Yes?
It's not fair that some people have really nice things and I don't.
Now, what makes you say that?
There's a really popular girl in school that seems to have everything. Each week, she has something new to show off. I want that. I want everyone to hang out with me.
Well, that does sound tempting. All that fame and popularity. But is having all that really going to make you happy? Let me tell you a story about a pirate looking for that same thing. There once was a pirate that sailed the 7 seas.
And wore a pink tutu.
And wore a pink tutu. Captain Tutu, they called her. She was on her way for another grand adventure, with only the wind in her sails to guide her. First, she stopped by an island for supplies. Though this wasn't any ordinary island. This was where you could get anything you could ever want. Fresh food, ship repairs, fame and fortune.
Ooh.
But Captain Tutu sensed that something was amiss. So, with plenty of time to spare, she decided to have a look around before setting sail once again.
Oh no, the net has trapped the seagull. The perfect ship for a swashbuckling pirate. I'd better take you with me. You never know who might need saving.
delicious smell of fish and chips was in the air. No wonder customers lined up at the door. But the owners were in over their heads with all the orders, cleaning and serving. It looked like they could use some help, and lots of it.
Around. Whew.
Where do fish keep their money? At the riverbank.
I'll have to stop by for some chips next time. Ugh.
The town's tavern was where pirates came to share their tales of the high seas, and to also enjoy a fresh drink of zesty lemonade. Though, as the captain entered, there was a scene of commotion. Sitting at a table were three pirates arguing over the ownership of a treasure map. They pulled and pulled until they tore it into pieces. Each with a piece of the map, they ran out the door to be the first to find the hidden treasure.
What's that? You're waiting for a message in a bottle? I'll keep an eye open for you. Give me a glass of your finest lemonade. Ugh, that's strong stuff.
The captain thought about it, but she decided.
Wow, that's sticky. That's a nice little stamp home you have there. But there must be something on this island more suited for you. No? He's getting a good telling off for invading that crow's home of shiny trinkets. just one mighty cannon. Why are you sitting on your own little chest?
He felt empty. A treasure chest with no treasure, he thought, was not worth anything. All he wanted was to have beautiful things. Surely that would make him feel much better.
Leave that to me. On guard! Yeah, yeah. Someone must have run out of flags and tied their apron to this pole. We should head to the beach someday soon. I need to bury you in the sand again.
Ha! I was finding sand everywhere after that.
Oh dear! This shovel really is desperate to find this treasure.
If only the captain could find a way to snap them out of it.
A message in a bottle, lost at sea. You are coming with me. This could come in handy. Oh, what? If only you had somewhere to tidy away your things. There'll be no washing clothes in that. The barnacle's covering the door. What do you use to get barnacles off your boat, Grandpa?
Something acidic usually does the trick.
Cheers! Still won't open.
The captain, but she decided.
Were you the captain of this ship?
He was, and a fine captain at that. Until he fell asleep behind the wheel on a stormy night. With his ship now in ruins, he felt useless.
I'm sure I can find some use for you.
The knock on their head brought the shovel back to their senses.
Sorry about that, but you had lost yourself.
They could not believe the fuss they made over finding treasure. Holding their head in embarrassment, they walked back to the tavern. captain had entered the lair of the most feared creature of the seven seas, infamous for raining terror and for stealing treasure throughout the lands.
I fear no monster. Fear my blade. Wait a minute. You're no monster at all. But why are you crying?
All the fame and fortune he could ever ask for was not what it was made out to be. None of it had brought him joy. It had only left him in a shadow of his past.
What can we do to stop those tears, my little octopus?
The octopus had had enough of thinking about himself. All he wanted to do now was to help others.
Arr! I better leave some for the next part. Remember the time I dropped the tub of glitter all over the carpet? It went everywhere.
And somehow into my mustache.
What about these beautiful jewels?
He took them and placed them in his chest. But to his disappointment, the jewels were not what he was looking for.
I'll see what else there is.
He took a look, but this was... Pirates use this to pull up heavy cargo, but it seems to be missing some of its pieces.
I don't have enough leverage to rotate this drum. I'll need more of... Let's try this. Oh no, the planks are sinking. I better be quick. Phew. Looks like I won't be getting back that way. This vine is... but it does look like... Don't mind if I do. I better watch my step. Whee! Oh, you've... It's no... I'm going to need some help. It's no use. I'm... about this golden idol?
He took it and placed it in his chest. But to his disappointment, the idol was not what he was looking for. This wasn't right either. He sighed. He believed he would never find what he was looking for.
Don't lose hope, my little chest. Come with me, and we'll see what we can find. What? Not fancy enough? Is this a long-lost friend? There was no need for a reward. Would this help?
She was in awe at the beautiful chest. The chest, however, did not understand. Why did she find these items precious? They weren't shiny or brand new. She explained that each of these items meant a lot to her. They held cherished memories and reminded her of good times. With this news, the chest couldn't believe he would hold such treasure.
It's no use. I'm going to need some help. I hope you don't mind me putting you to use, Captain Wheel. It's no use. I'm going to need some...
The relieved anchor was back on solid land. Disappointed with not finding treasure, he walked back to the tavern defeated.
Fly free, my little bird friend. Oh, look! I know of a couple that could really use your help. But first, let's get you looking the part.
Here was a list of what the octopus still needed to look the part for his new job. A chef's hat, an apron, a trusty oven glove.
Sorry, I couldn't find another 7. Ah, that fresh cotton smell. Not quite a pirate hat, but it suits you well. a round pot of delicious fondue. Now with golden coins. Whew, that's hot. A golden, what I've always wanted. Here she blows. This will be a perfect fit.
Mrs. Pepper and Mr. Salt were shocked to see who was coming through their door. They saw the job slip in his tentacle, the chef's hat on his head, and cowered at the idea of him wanting to work at their diner. The octopus started to tear up. Mrs. Pepper, seeing this, stepped closer to the octopus and wiped away a tear. She looked at her husband for approval. But before he could answer, he felt the strong tickle of yet another sneeze. With a quick flick of a tentacle, the octopus placed a well-timed handkerchief under Mr. Salt's nose. He laughed and thanked the octopus. He shared his wife's feelings and believed the octopus deserved a second chance.
I'll have to stop by. Now that's what I call service with a smile. No? Look what I've got, Mrs. Crow. Catch!
The telescope was a little sore, but thankful to come away in one piece. Unfortunately, he did not get the treasure he so desired, and walked back to the tavern empty-handed.
I best leave, Miss. Otherwise... No? Wow, that... What? Not fancy enough?
The captain, but she did. Disappointed, each hunter had come back to where they had started. As they listened to each other's stories, they could not help but laugh. They were too lost in their chase for fame and fortune. The stories they had made were worth far more than any treasure. With the feeling of a job well done, Captain Tutu went to get ready to depart. To her surprise, the whole island had gathered to say their goodbyes. She reminded them that fame and fortune is not everything. Finding happiness with what you have is the mark of a true pirate legend. With warm hugs and long goodbyes, she set sail, plotting a course for another long adventure. You see, Clara, having everything you could ever want doesn't mean you'll be happy. In some cases, it may make you unhappy.
You know what? I'm happy with what I have.
That's wonderful to hear, my little blossom.
Anyways, I've got the best treasure of them all.
Oh, do you now? Let's see. Is it pretty jewels and gold doubloons?
It's you, Grandpa.
Oh. Ah, there you are. I see you're busy with your homework. Good girl.
Mm-hmm.
Then you won't mind me popping out to the garden for a bit?
Not at all, Grandpa. I've got lots to do.
Okay, see you shortly.
Phew, that was close. Now, what's left for Grandpa's birthday surprise? Let's see. I have his present, card, and cake to collect from my friends. First up, the Crumbles Village. No stars in this pond. This is much nicer than a crow pecking you, isn't it? Looks like you've made even more friends since we last met. Sorry for tricking you with the giant balloon. Your father really needed his jar of sweeties back. This present looks ready to go. What a lovely ribbon. I hope Grandpa likes it. But there's no point in worrying about that. It is out of my control. What's next? His birthday card. The fungaloids should have that. But first, have I done everything I need to before I leave? Hello, Captain Wheel. It's great to see you out and about. I'll have to get you to play for Grandpa's birthday. Careful you don't make the singer sneeze. To Grandpa. Happy birthday from your little blossom. Perfect. Now to enjoy another journey. Let's go get that cake. But first, have I done everything I need to before I leave? This is for Grandpa. Auditioning new talent for your band. Yum. Still dancing, I see. You'll have to share your famous crumble soup recipe with my friend Octopus. He's an amazing cook too. Ooh, I cannot wait to have a big slice of this cake. But Grandpa needs to have his slice first. Now that I have everything I need, I best get ready. But first, have I done everything I need to before I leave? Are you getting ready for... Grandpa, can you help me with my homework? This question is really hard.
2 seconds, my dear. It's not like you to get...
Surprise!
Oh!
Happy birthday, Grandpa! I love you so much.
I love you too, my little blossom. Thank you for making this old man happy. You didn't have to do all this.
I had the help of my friends from your stories. They wish you a happy birthday as well.
Did they? That was nice of them. Since you aren't actually doing homework, how about a picnic?
Yes, please.
Ha-ha! I'll go grab the chocolate biscuits.